Good evening and welcome to PhanTV. Off the back of a blank but actually quite encouraging weekend, we bring you this quick midweek update.
So looking at team news for this week, Phantoms announced earlier on this week actually that Joe Graham is going to miss about 4 weeks with a shoulder injury that he sustained against Slough on Saturday.
Indeed, a little unfortunate. However, rumours abound across the internet that James Morgan will be back to save the Phantoms again. Yeah, we'll be back. No, we've seen nothing official from the club. We've heard nothing even kind of rumoured from within the club that he'll be back. So I wouldn't really go betting the mortgage on that one.
No, true. I don't think any sources have said anything other than no news at the moment. But you know, what we should be looking to see against MK on Sunday, probably going to be a similar sort of squad and positionings that we've seen against the Bison last Sunday. You know, with Nathan Pollard, possibly James Ferreira pulling back there to fill in the gaps in the D, and then hopefully getting a better look at Hook and County, or one or both of them. Hopefully getting a few more shifts up front.
Absolutely. Okay, having a look around the league as well, Guildford Flames had a bit of a nightmare weekend of their own, losing 2-6 to Swindon Wildcats in Swindon. A bit of a beating they took. In fact, I've got to be honest, I think that's the biggest 4-goal loss, is probably the worst I've seen them take over the last couple of seasons, even when things were bad last year. And their weekend didn't get any better, although they did manage to salvage a point against Sheffield Steel Dogs down in Surrey. Steel Dogs taking an early 3-goal lead. Flames managed to bring it back to 3-3 by the end of the second period. 4-4, 1 goal apiece in the third period, took it into overtime before the Steel Dogs took that final overtime goal and the 2 points. So yeah, not a good weekend for the Flames.
No, you're right. And Paul Dixon, player coach, he was, he did say to them, he went on record to say that it wasn't a great weekend, obviously, but they are looking, I think, for the to pick their heads up a bit. I think they were still stuck from the weekend before. I think their heads had dropped. So but you got to move on. And as Dixon said, you've got to be entitled to occasional bad games, I suppose, and even weekends.
Absolutely.
Now, looking at Milton Keynes, their weekend last weekend, they had a 4-point weekend, which is excellent for them. And it was a double header against Bracknell as well, Dan. They faced them at home on Saturday, and they won 4-2 there. And they went to Bracknell and beat them 4-3 there as well on Sunday.
Indeed. Now, is it me, or do Milton Keynes seem to favour their double headers this year? I mean, they've had Sheffield double header, Bracknell double header. They've got us double header this weekend.
Yeah, it does seem that way, doesn't it? Maybe it just makes it easier for them to scope out the competition, kind of a less of a learning curve.
Well, indeed. Now, as mentioned, Milton Keynes are back here this Sunday. We face them in a double header.
That's right. So we've got Phantoms going to Milton Keynes on Saturday, and then coming back here to face them on Sunday. But Dan, who have we got to look for in those games?
I would say, having seen them again with the Ashes as well, I would say Lee Jameson. He converted from being a defenceman to a forward last season. He's kind of made that position his for certain. He's a high-scoring, fairly prolific player, so definitely worth keeping an eye on. Adam Calder, another one who arrived at Milton Keynes last season. So I guess by Milton Keynes standards, they're both new boys. Fairly fresh and only got the 1 season under their belts. But I think one for the ref to watch has got to be Chris McElbow Wiggins. Really, I mean, the guy's Buckinghamshire's answer to Andrew Sharp. Not got a lot to say about that chap.
No, he's one of those characters. I think he fits the Milton Keynes mould fairly well, I would say, Dan.
That's one way of describing him, yes.
Well, that's it from us this week, anyway. We'll see you here Sunday, 5:30 at Planet Ice Peterborough, when Phantoms take on the Milton Keynes Lightning. Tickets are £12 in advance and £13 on the door. Good night. Good night.